Hello, everybody. Welcome to the playoff edition of Bucs UK TV. It's the first week of the playoffs. It's not going to be the last week of the playoffs. It's episode 60. I'm joined by David, Alex, and Gary. Hello.
Hi there.
Hello. Hi.
And straight away, you at home, press the button, subscribe, press the bell, give us a thumbs up. You've been remiss the last few weeks. We need your help. The more you click, the more people get to see this. And the more people across the UK and across the world, Bucs fans everywhere, can enjoy what we're doing. Speaking of enjoying what we're doing, I think we had a good time against the Eagles. So let's start by talking about that. Gary, kick us off. How was it?
Well, it was pretty good. Score was nothing like as flattering to us as perhaps it should have been. We let them back into it towards the end. A couple of garbage time TDs that they got. If you want a nice, comfortable playoff victory to start your Super Bowl run, that was it.
It did feel good. Alex, for once, I'll be the one asking the questions. You get a chance to answer for a change. Was Gary right? Was it exactly the way to set the tone?
Oh, definitely. If you want to make a statement, then that's the way to do it. Defensively, I thought we were incredible. I agree with what Gary says in terms of those garbage time, all those garbage scores towards the end of the game. There's no way that Philadelphia were getting back in to the game at that point. And offensively, I mean, as near as perfect as you're going to get, unless you're the Buffalo Bills, of course. But what we did was brilliant, and I think we put the rest of the teams on notice as well.
Let's hope so. And I think you're right. And you started by talking about the good offensive performance, so we'll stick with that. David, if you were to give the game ball out to on the offense, it's hard to choose, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we turned up. I mean, I went into the game full of expectation during the week, but come game day, a little bit of nerves were creeping in, has to be said. But where we've in recent weeks struggled with slow offensive starts, we went straight out there, didn't we? It was really good to see. We say, like the guy said, we made a really big early statement. It was great to see Mike Evans get involved early as well, and I think he had a fantastic game. So yeah, I mean, there were a few sort of missed passes early on, a little bit of timing issues between Brady and Tyler Johnson particularly, but we quickly tidied those up. And it was great to see an early running game as well. Get Kieron out there. I think if we can use a running game more and get into a bit of play action and not let a defense set back, then it just opens up for us. So I think all-round offensive performance was really good to see.
Let's stick with the running game for a bit then, because you're right. On the Bucs UK forum where we were chatting during the game, which was I think it was the 5th or 6th largest forum thread we'd ever had, and there's the usual rolling of the eyes. But we're going to run up the gut on 1st and 10, and we did, and it worked.
For 7-8 yards, wasn't it, the first play, and made a statement from then on.
So actually, Vaughan, do you think he's making a stake for a regular spot?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think really he's let us down. The times where he's disappointed is where he's actually got behind the defense and been passed to. But I think from a running perspective, he does look good, doesn't he? And he's got the potential to blast run. He's got that little bit of aggression about him. Certainly gets a few extra yards after the tackle. Certainly liking what we see. And he does it in the end zone as well.
Right. So, Alex, we're expecting Lenny back, aren't we, next week? We really hope that's going to be in the depth chart. But so who's losing out?
Who's losing out? That's a tricky one, isn't it? Because even Gio came in and did really well as well. He got a touchdown too. And I was asked, did I expect CGO in the game? My answer was no. I didn't think he would come in. And he did really, really well as also. I mean, but we didn't see we didn't see Bell. So if on that basis, if Lenny comes back, I have to say maybe Bell gets dropped there, particularly when you look at how well both Vaughan and excuse me, both Vaughan and Bernard did on Sunday. They were great. I mean, I'd even go as far as to potentially say, obviously things are a bit in the air with Rojo at the moment, and Vaughan is really making a statement to say to Brucerians, "What about me?" And because I think Rojo's contract's coming to an end very soon as well. There is questions whether or not he's going to remain in Tampa, and maybe Kieron Vaughan could be sealing that decision.
Certainly felt like he needed to do something to stake a claim this late in the season. Gary, often the running game is the combination of the backs, of course, but also the people blocking for them. Passing and running. How do you think that the line did?
Well, the O-line, of course, has been one of the main strengths of the team over the whole season. And we saw a couple of cracks, didn't we? But we didn't see them until Wirfs went out and then Jensen got injured. I'm a bit worried about the right guard position if Wirfs doesn't come back. We all made the comment on the forum, didn't we, about Josh Wells after that bull rush where he just got shoved out of the way and the guy killed Tom Brady. And then you saw the picture of Wells on the sideline hopping around as though he was injured. Was that embarrassment or was he genuinely hurt? I don't know. But the fact remains that the running backs aren't going to be able to run unless the O-line do the blocking for them. And Bernard and Vaughan got best part of 100 yards between them, which is pretty good. And to give my answer to the question you asked Alex a minute ago, who's going to miss out? I think the obvious answer to that is Rojo. He's, banged up at the moment. If he comes back, he runs really hard. But if he does come back or doesn't, we know we've got Vaughan that can do it if he needs to do it.
I mean, going back to the game, I was a little bit disappointed after those first two touchdown drives that we were sort of first and goal again, and then we abandoned the run and ended up with a field goal where we should have just kept pushing on that.
It felt like we'd learned a little bit, though. We weren't suddenly, going only deep balls, after deep ball after deep ball. There was a bit more of a progression there, which I feel like it feels like keeping the ball on offense. It could well be our best defense. Obviously, we'll come and talk about it next week. We're focusing on the Eagles now, but it felt like by keeping the ball away, it kept the D fresh.
Brady only threw one pass over 20 yards, and that was the touchdown to Mike Evans. So, I mean, the first drive really was a thing of beauty in that respect because, everybody says that Brady will take what the defense gives him. And that's exactly what he did. It was 4 yards, 5 yards, 8 yards, Vaughan for 11 or whatever he got on that first run. If we can do that and consistently do that, then it keeps the other teams off guard because we know that we can sling it long if we need to.
And utilising Scotty Miller as well in the Godwin scheme.
Yeah, and he was running as well as catching, so that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And I predicted a big day for the tight ends. I was probably slightly over optimistic, but it didn't feel like wide receiver 1 was out. Yes, Godwin's gone. Wide receiver 2, Antonio ? Obviously, Mikey's wide receiver 0 goes without saying. But it didn't feel like there was a drop off, and it was nice to see the depth. Was it Tyler Johnson that had the early drops?
Yeah.
He did, and then he caught one across the middle and took it between two defenders. One of them just got him. If he could have broken that would have been, he could have gone all the way on that one. Tyler Johnson's okay. He's not going to let us down. The odd drop, but everybody drops them. Even Mike Evans drops the odd one.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is really if Wirfs is in or out or limited, then how much do we have to use tight ends a bit more for blocking?
I mean, it's funny you should say that, David, actually, because one thing that I think it was Gronkowski, he said in the interview that a play that was called constantly against the Eagles was a play they called it jacked, and it was standing for the tight ends. So I'm wondering, Kieron, you were saying about that the tight ends didn't have as big a game as you predicted. They must have been used much more in the blocking game when Wirfs went down. Which is why we didn't see a much productivity from them. Hence, we're just seeing this jacked play get called all the time.
Sounds like some sort of promotional tie-in with sort of alcoholic beverages or something. Get jacked with the Bucs. And the other thing, I was reading a Scott Smith article on Bucs.com. He was talking about the next gen stats and actually how quickly Brady was getting the ball out. I think that's the other thing. We're getting a little bit complacent now, guys, because we're used to genius and the GOAT. He was firing that ball the quickest out he's ever done it in a game, and consistently. I think that made a huge difference as well. It was nice to not see an interception. Then on the other side of the ball, it was nice to see an interception. So let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. David, maybe we give you first pickings. Now it all started good and then not so good. Is that right?
But it was good to see all of our backs, wasn't it? Back and performing and delivering. There was a lot of contested ball there, which they actually played really well. And again, picks get the boat out.
Gary, you've nicked your phrase. There were contested catches going on. Were you pleased to see that?
Oh, was I just? My somewhat better half was watching it with me, and she's absolutely fed up to the back teeth of me screaming at defensive backs on the telly please just try and get the ball. And then not long after that, Mike Edwards appeared out of nowhere, like shot like he shot out of the cannon, and intercepts that ball just by getting in front of the receiver. I mean, the receiver can't catch it. The defensive back gets in the way. And, I know I'm sitting here in my house in Northampton saying that, and it's very easy for me to say. It's somewhat more difficult to do on the field, of course, but I just wish they would contest it a bit more often than they do.
I do wonder, with all of the short, sort of the rotation that the secondaries had to go through this year, it feels like, if Ross Cockrell's out there or Mike Edwards making the play or SMB still injured, the drop-off seems less now. And I don't know whether that's perception, but it feels like now everyone's got used to playing and everyone's used to playing with each other. Maybe in the postseason that might make a difference.
Yeah, I think you've got a set of backs there that are all confident and have got game experience, and not just game experience, they've made plays. And
making plays, we have to talk about Jordan Whitehead, don't we?
Oh yes, what a game he had. And that's not the first game he's had where he's been super. He's had an incredible season. He was all over the place. I was delighted to see how good he was, and just continue on from that. I want to mention Devon White as well, because with Levante David being back, we're seeing the Devon White that we're used to. The Devon White that was in the playoffs. Levante David just it allows him a bit more freedom. David will generally just sit in that hole and cover that middle area of the field, which means that Devon White can blitz and push towards the line and really try and cause some issues there. And both Whitehead and White, while it's difficult to pick one or two players out defensively, because I thought the defense were outstanding as a whole, I just want to say about those two in particular, because they were incredible, really good.
I mean, you saw the whole progression of the defense through the game, in the backs contesting and stopping the passes downfield. Then the more has tried to get involved, then the more he was shut down in a run by Levante and White. And ultimately, then he was holding onto the ball, and up comes Shaq and the team to sort of bury him in the ground. So every line of that defense played a big part in that game.
I think another big difference as well is the fact that we got Levante David, JPP, and Shaq back. That defense looked unrecognizable. Don't get me wrong; it still did well towards the end of the regular season, but that just went up to another level. And for me, I mean, well, not just me, but the classic phrase, defense wins championships. Those three have come back in, and my goodness, has it made our defense step up another level. For me, it's kind of similar to what I said about Vita Vea being back for the Super Bowl last season. How much an impact he made. Forget one player. We're talking about 3 players who have returned, who are key to this defense, and the difference was just astronomical.
But Alex, while you're talking about linebackers, though, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka
absolutely.
seems to be maturing as well at a pace.
Oh, definitely. It goes back again, and also it goes back to this next man up, doesn't it? JPP was struggling with that injury for the latter part of the season, and JTS had to come in and really learn quickly and step up really, really quickly. And he made some great plays as well on Sunday. I think he got really close to tipping the ball a couple of times as well. He was a nightmare for Jalen Hurts and that line. So yeah, I mean he's been getting better and better as the season's gone on. What another great draft pick. Think back to the picks that we've made since Bruce Arians has been at the Bucs working with Jason Light. Devon White is in there. I think was Vita Vea. I think one of the first picks as well. And we're talking about JTS as well. Winfield. Outstanding. Absolutely incredible.
Gary, you were going
one
to say
thing for
something.
me,
Sorry, Gary.
the one thing for me, sorry, Kieron, with Shaq and JPP being out, then JTS and Anthony Nelson become 1 and 2, but they're not really 1 and 2. They're 3 and 4. So when they go out to have a breather or whatever, and you've got 5 and 6, I mean, the drop-off is immense if you think about it. So by getting Shaq and JPP back, then JTS and Anthony Nelson go back into the rotation as 3 and 4. But the really scary thing is, if you think about it, we made such a fuss about re-signing all 22 Super Bowl starters. The Super Bowl defense has not taken the field once this season. Not once yet.
Wow, is that true for not a single play?
No, wow.
Not a single play.
Sean Murphy Bunting went out pretty much the very first play, didn't he, of season?
Yeah. I think it was Whitehead that missed. The very first game, because Murphy Bunting got hurt in that game, and from then on it's been a succession. And then Sean Murphy Bunting again for this game. So the starting Super Bowl defense has not taken the field once.
You see, that just fills me with even more confidence, though. And I didn't know that, Gary, you said it. And now I know that. To think that I'm watching a defense that is including players who didn't start in the Super Bowl, and the fact they have been able to step up and learn Todd Bowles' system, become part of that unit, and still play as good as they can. And you mentioned Nelson, who, I mean, he's been a revelation this season, coming in and filling in. He's been brilliant as well. This is such a good position to be in from a fan's perspective of the Bucs, particularly when you look at the defensive side. We're very lucky, I think we can say, as Bucs fans right now, to be witnessing this team that we're watching.
So let's round out the defense, the defensive line. I know Alex Howes is always watching the snap counts and seeing what the drop-off is like when Vea or Sue has to come out. But again, the point you were making, Gary and Alex and David, about the secondary, the linebackers, the rotation, we're used to seeing those names in, and it seems like the drop-off is less and less now. Do you think, David?
Yeah, I mean, as we sort of mentioned earlier, it did get a little bit disappointing and untidy towards the end, letting them make some plays. But, I think we know when we have to raise our game. When it matters, they're there. So it's not something that, is sitting here concerning me at all at the minute. I think, when they're called upon, everybody can deliver.
I will just a last little point there. It's great to see our own Mr. Irrelevant getting some defensive plays as well now. See Grant Stewart on there. That was great. I think he even did the he did the backstroke when they were rowing the boat as well at one point, which was really good to see. I'm liking this guy more and more.
You can see the frizzy hair sort of bobbing around the field, can't you?
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, and he's been a brilliant special teams player, of course, which is a good segue into everyone's favourite third of the ball. I have to be careful what I say now. I don't want to become a cliche of myself. I think it was A-, wasn't it, Gary?
Oh, I think you're being a little bit harsh there. It's got to be better than A-. Goodness sake! I mean, they didn't do anything wrong, did they? With the exception of not having any sort of run back on a kick or punt return. But we've come to expect that now, and I don't want to bore you again with my theory about it. But there wasn't one. They didn't have a big one. We made every kick. Pinion was blasting them, and the wind was apparently pretty grim. So he did a great job. And of course, the highlight was the muff punt by Rager that had me out of my seat when that happened.
And Scotty doing his job and getting there and stopping recovering it.
Well, exactly, yes, because the guy actually muffed it. Scotty didn't cause the fumble, but Scotty just cleaned him up after he dropped it for Ross Cockrell to do his thing. So good team effort.
And one thing, if you watch the replay of that muff punt as well, you'll see Scotty Miller just completely does his marker for pace. It's not even close. Obviously, we're not used to seeing Scotty Miller on special teams, of course. Normally he is wide receiver 3 or 4, but he seems to have lost that spot to Johnson and Perriman at the moment. But he's doing everything right. He's making those plays on special teams, and that's how you get noticed if you want to get yourself back in.
Well, he was the gunner from the other side of the field as well.
He was, yeah. He literally crossed all the way. Yeah, the pace was fantastic to get there.
It's true. The commentary team picked up on that on the stateside broadcast. Of course, the best commentator for Tampa, it was Joe Buck, and he was saying, that Scotty Miller's has earned his role because he's not built like your typical gunner. He's small. He's easily blocked out of his lane, but if you're quick enough, like you say, Alex, just gets there.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes pace, you need that sometimes. It's not always about being, built like a brick house and, the toughest bloke on the field. Sometimes pace just works. And in that instance, it worked to right treat.
Indeed. The late, great John Madden, who we should doff our virtual caps to, always used to say, speed kills. That was his saying he coined. I remember slamming the B button and hearing that over and over again. So we want to win one for Madden this year. So you've heard what we have to say about the game. As I mentioned, it was busy on the forum. My refresh by F5 was sort of starting to fall off my keyboard. There was so much happening. And so we've captured just a few of our members' comments, and we'll share them with you now. So our first comment comes from David. Happy with that. Pretty solid all round. The only concern is Wirfs. I hope he recovers. Again, and one of the things we saw as it was almost insane that Wirfs tried to come back on the field after that injury, wasn't it? When we didn't need to, did he?
No, he didn't. No, in that instance, just rest him. He could have made that ankle a ton worse by coming back on. I respect that he wanted to come back on and play. Great heart, great to see it. But you got to know when your body's telling you, just take that break.
By all accounts, he was wearing a boot around $1 this week. So yeah. So well, it wasn't that he could have come out.
It wasn't just him hurting himself more. He could have got Brady hurt as well.
Yeah, very sensible. And then Scott McGowan. Let's be honest. Do we think Arians has any control over whether Brady comes out or not? So clearly, if the O-line get him killed, then he does. Great special teams performance too. I think it shows that Brady wants this. The next one. He's such a fierce competitor. Charlie Bright, winning is all that matters. Let's move. I think that's everything. And then finally, Lee Morgan. I'm super happy about the win, getting Bucs, but I do worry about that sloppy side. The tougher the games get, you'll get punished. There we go. Yeah, you could well get punished. And it feels like that's a good point to talk about who it is that might be doing the punishing. Obviously, first of all, as ever, we give our thanks to Bucs Report for their help. Make sure you have a click on them and see what they've got to say. There's some really good content coming out there. But now it's on to the next home game at Tampa. Back-to-back playoff games at home. I know, pinch me, wake me up. What is going on? Poor old Brian Ford. He's telling us he's going to have to order another 70,000 flags that we're all going to blow away. It's the Ray J is going to hopefully be rocking. It's the Rams. So, Alex, if we start with you, this is going to be a tough game, isn't it?
Yes. Out of the teams we could have faced, it was Dallas, Arizona, and the Rams. The Rams were the team that I didn't want to come against. They scare me, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, we're a great team, but the Rams are also a great team, and are not to be underestimated. I'm sure we'll go into a bit more detail shortly, but of course they've got two very, very dangerous players who are, they're game changers and game wingers. So yeah, Sunday is going to be very difficult.
Exactly. So yeah, as you say, without going into the specific players at this point, it's their quick scoring potential. You think actually once the Eagles were on the ropes, and they had some garbage time scores, you worry that a quicker team, a more dangerous team, could well come back. Gary, we'll talk about players, but first of all, the keys to the game, the tactics that are going to win this for the Bucs.
Yeah, just to pick up on that last point though, any team you face now in the divisional round, they're going to be pretty good. Of the 8 teams, there's 7 division winners in there. So, there's 8 really, really good teams left in. What's going to win it for us? I think we need to get the scheme right on both on offense and on defense. Getting the ball out of Brady's hands quickly. They've got the best defensive lineman in the game, of course, in Donald. So neutralize that threat by getting rid of the ball or running the ball, off right or left and not straight into the heart of the strength of their defense.
So getting the ball out quickly normally means a short pass. The Bucs need to stick with that short passing approach they had against the Eagles.
Well, it worked beautifully against the Eagles. There's no reason at all why it shouldn't work again. But like we said a few minutes ago, we know we can sling it long, and that Brady, he knows every coverage. He's surveying the field as he's walking up to take the snap. So he knows where the ball's going. He knows quick pass. He knows Mike Evans is going to be 20 yards down the field. So I'll swing it to him. You've just got to scheme it right. And we've played these guys so often. I mean, we played them every year for about the last, 4 or 5 years, I think. I had a look to see what our record against them is, and it's not good. It has to be said. 9-16 overall against the Rams. 9-18 if you count the 2 NFC Championship games that we lost.
Yeah, I was talking on the forum when the excuse me. I was talking on the forum when the shutout was still a possibility against the Eagles. I was saying, wouldn't it be great to get a shutout? And someone was like, God, no one ever get shut out. And I posted a list of all the shutouts. Someone, oh my God, someone even got shut out in a championship game. They obviously didn't go far enough down the list because I just replied with sort of embarrassed face. And yeah, we know that 9-0. As a Crystal Palace fan, 9-0 is not sensitive enough for me as a score as it is. But as a Bucs fan as well, it seems like it's haunting me. But David, of course, there are other games where we played the Rams and where it's been, was it 35-34 and crazy scores like that. Is this going to be about keeping pace with the Rams or controlling the Rams?
Well, I think this is an absolutely amazing matchup of 2 incredibly similar teams. You look at it, offensively, they've got Odell Beckham, Tyler Higbee, Cooper Kupp. We've got Mike Evans, Gronk, and that. I mean, we're pretty much matched up offensively. Rushing, I think we're pretty similar to them with Sonny Michael and Cam Akers. And defense, they've got Von Miller, Aaron Donald. We've got Shaq, Vita V, and that. I just think everywhere you look, both these teams are really well matched, almost identically against each other. And to tell you the big things, 2 big things that are different in this team. One, Sean McVay v. Bruce Arians. I think McVay gets himself carried away a bit, and he thinks he's and he's far too cocky, and that can come back and bite him. And secondly, when push comes to shove, who do you want to make the best decisions? Who do you expect to make the best decisions? Tom Brady or Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford's going to throw interceptions when he gets pushed, and that is going to be the key to the game.
I think that's a really good succinct summary. Let's stick with Matt Stafford versus Tom Brady. It's almost a shame you can't have a quarterback against a quarterback. But watching the highlights of the Rams' last victory, Matt Stafford did look like there were flames coming off the ball, and the deep ball in particular, I think, was what concerned me. Gary, did you see the game, the highlights at all?
I saw the highlights, and yes, Stafford has got an arm on him. He's always had an arm on him, but he's also got an interception in him. He's like any other quarterback. You can't throw the ball if you're lying flat on your back. The danger man for me is Kupp. But again, you take Kupp out of the game by taking Stafford out of the game. The worry I have, though, is we've talked about the Eagles, I know, but when Hurts was being flushed out of the pocket and throwing it long, he was not very accurate. Stafford and any other quarterback we would face in the playoffs now is going to be a heck of a lot more accurate with that long ball while he's on the run. So you've just got to get that pressure on him.
And coming back to the discussion we were talking then, Alex, we were talking about the importance of the run game, and that's where we began this podcast. I don't think the Rams have a great run game. I think the Bucs need to have a great run game. What's your take on the importance of running on Sunday? Because I think the focus is on the big explosive plays, the receivers.
Yeah, I mean, my take is balance, to be honest with you, Kieron. You can't win the game with one or the other. You need to establish the run, absolutely, and set a tone. And I mean, you can argue that we always do try to do that, especially the fact that we're always running on the first down. So we're always looking to try and establish some sort of run. If we've got Lenny back, then I fully expect us to be able to establish the run and get something going there. Excuse me. So we've just got it's the balance. That's what it comes back to at the end of the day. I don't want us focusing more on the run than the pass, because that isn't going to win the game on Sunday. We need to be like Gary said, just get the scheme right, get that balanced scheme right, and I think we hopefully will be looking all right.
And do you think? I mean, David focused on McVay, but obviously our coaches are no rookies. It feels like the play calling has evolved in the latter weeks. In mid-season and the slump, it felt like we were going to call our game, no risk it, no biscuit. We were going to do what we were going to do, whether it worked or not. That doesn't seem to still be the case, does it?
No, I was. I've been much happier with the play calling over the past few weeks. As we spoke about earlier, shorter passes, just not forcing the ball, because that was something we were trying to do an awful lot. We'd be 2nd and 2 or 3rd and 2 or something like that, and someone would dial up a 30-yard bomb down the field. In playoff football, you definitely don't want to be doing that. If it takes you 8 minutes to get down the field, but you're doing quick slants all the way, and you get 6 or 7 yards each play, fine by me. What I don't want to see is this. For me, it was almost panic play calling. I think Leftwich sort of thinking we need something here, and then suddenly he's dialing up these 20 to 30-yard plays. So if he just sticks with what he's doing on this play calling, playing to our strengths as well. We're good when it comes to the short pass. We've got those explosive receivers who can make a difference there. Mike Evans, Gronkowski, Tyler Johnson's in there as well. They can work with the short pass, and they've got the pace or the strength to get the extra yards afterwards. I want to see more of what we saw against Philly.
I like that, and obviously that's the offensive play calling side of things. David, on the defensive side of the ball, kind of very simplistically, and I mean very simplistically, we can either play the coverage game or we can blitz. You can either send everyone or keep everyone back. What do you think the balance of that needs to be against the Rams?
I think we've got to hit them hard, hit them early. We've got to get Matt Stafford ruffled, haven't we? We've got to get in there early. We've got to put our foot down and put him in a backward position. Once you do that, then we can dictate the pace of the game. But yeah, I mean, I say, with the likes of Cup and that, if you give him time, he's going to find him, isn't he? And it all boils down to that, really.
And Gary, when you're not talking about contested catches, we're asking about trick plays. Again, from the highlights of the Rams game, I saw there was a bit of razzle-dazzle going on by the Rams. And that's not something we've seen from the Bucs this year, if we're being honest. Other than the other wide receiver sweep or something like a jet screen or something. Do you think that there's a need to sort of think outside the box for some of this play calling?
I absolutely think there's need to think outside the box. I mean, it's not just what the Rams did. Did you see the Chiefs game? We had it all: underhand passes, we had tight ends, throwing touchdowns, we had a big man touchdown. The Rams, they had Beckham throwing passes, didn't they? I mean, all sorts. And we're just a bit sort of old school. I'd love to see a little bit more creativity. I'd love to see, Mike Evans throw a touchdown or, something like that. Just, mix and match.
It's true, and I always go back to the Bucs stats. The when you take out the number of carries as the limiter, the best running back for the Bucs in terms of average yards per carry, John Lynch, 41 yards on a fake punt. It feels like that sort of play call might be the deal. If we're at R45 on it and it's 4th and 4, I don't think we got much to lose by trying to make people think twice. But that's what I think.
I think
I
think we might see some more deep balls early on as well this year. Like I say, we've been sort of mixing up with run and short passes. I think we might try and catch them on the back foot as well early on.
And that does have the good effect. Even if it doesn't come off, it stretches the defense, doesn't it? It means they can't all crowd up in the box and try and impose their will. So who are the Bucs that you think we need to really, press the boost button on, or are going to be crucial in their roles? Gary, maybe if we start with you, who are the Bucs that are really going to pivot this game?
For me, it's going to be the receivers behind Mike Evans, because you know what they're going to do to Mike Evans. So we desperately need the Tyler Johnsons, the Perrimans, the Scotty Millers, whoever it is out there. We need them to take the game over as much as they possibly can. As much as I'd love to see Mike Evans get 100 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns, if he doesn't catch a ball, that won't worry me either, as long as the other receivers go off on one and we win the game.
It does feel like it could be Evans versus Jalen Ramsey. So, is that going to almost cancel each other out? Alex, for you, kind of who are the key Bucs to watch?
I think it's whoever is at that right guard, right tackle. Sorry. We've said already, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is; they can't make a play if they're on their back. I'm again, I won't mention any names on Rams yet, because I'm sure we are going to get to that shortly. But there is obviously somebody who, if we've not got a full offensive line, there's one player in particular who is going to take full advantage of that. So whoever is at that, obviously, I hope by some miracle Wirfs is 100% and fit to go. It's unlikely. So then it's going to be whoever's going to be stepping up into that right tackle spot, because we've got to keep Brady on his feet.
You're unmuzzled now. You can say Aaron Donald. It's okay.
Can I say it now? Thank you. Yeah, Aaron Donald. He is. It's always
assuming you're not worried about Sebastian Joseph Day or Greg Gaines or Bobby Brown the third. I thought it was a singer, but never mind.
Who knows? There could be so much focus on Aaron Donald that one of them might get through and end up making a play. Who knows in this weird game that we all love? But look, we know how good Aaron Donald is. Arguably the best defensive lineman in the game. No one can dispute that. If there is a chink in your armor, you can guarantee he's going to take advantage. So whoever comes in to help our line, they're going to have to be at the absolute top of the game. And of course, we need to hope that Ryan Jensen is also 100% to go, because a backup centre against Aaron Donald also scares the heck out of me. So the offensive line is going to be key.
Yeah. Although, again, I'm looking down the depth chart, and Josh Wells has had game time. Aaron Stinney's played well. Robert Hainsey has been in there. I think Nick Leverett's probably the odd one out, and that we've not seen very much from him in the mainstream rotation. David, I've completely lost track. Have I asked you about Bucs that you like?
No, but
Go
I mean,
for it.
going back, I mean, I think the guys have picked on 2 key ones already. Absolutely. I mean, the Wirfs position is going to be crucial in keeping Brady upright. And again, just going back to what we were saying earlier about Shaq and the guys needing to make early plays as well. And of course, when we get a kickoff return for a touchdown from special teams.
I'd love to know who's going to be returning it then. Because it ain't done. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that clip comes back to haunt me and we play it at the beginning of every podcast going forward for the whole of next year. So this is it. This is it. Our hearts all say that the Bucs are going to win, but kind of what I need to know is what your head is saying as well. Score predictions, result predictions. Alex, we'll start with you. This is a hard one to call.
It is. The Rams are a tougher challenge than the Philadelphia Eagles. No disrespect to the Eagles, they're a good team, but the Rams are another step. I mean, I didn't, I've said it before already this episode that defense wins championships. They've got a good defense. I think ours is better. And because we've got those players back, I'm backing our defense. I do think it's going to be close. I'm not saying that we're going to keep them to a low score, but I think the defense will do enough that we are going to edge the win. So I'm going to go for a 34-28 victory to the Bucs.
2 points away from me, but come back to that. Cool. All right, Gary, I like it.
Well, I could show you my bit of paper here. It says 33-31. I think high scoring. We score points at Raymond James. We've scored over 30 in every game except one. I won't mention that game, of course. So I think we're going to score points. Alex is absolutely dead right with the defenses. I would reckon our defense is just going to make the odd play more than their defense. And that will be the difference. That Mike Edwards interception in the end zone, for example, that type of thing. So I think it'll be high scoring. I think both offenses will score fairly well. I've got 33-31. I hope it's not. I hope we absolutely smash them into the ground. But realistically, they're going to hang with us. So a close win for us.
David,
very similar to you guys. I had 36-34. I can see him missing a 2-point conversion at the end.
36-34 sounds like I'm not going to be able to get to sleep after that game.
Forget that one. I couldn't get sleep after the last one.
What was your thinking over 36-34?
I just think it's going to be tight all the way, and it's going to be, just some crazy play at the end of the game, which is just going to make it happen one way or the other.
So you think it's going to be like 2 heavyweight sluggers just punching and punching and punching?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think it could be down to who gets the ball last, or because Gary's saying it's about the D they're going to make the difference? Do you think it's about clock management?
Well, isn't every game?
True. It really is. It really is. So I think the weather's going to be key. I think if it's a horrible day for passing the ball, then that could actually favour the Bucs. I do think our running game, when it needs to be, is better. I think but I agree ultimately with Gary. I think it's the defenses that are going to be the different makers in this game, because both offenses are going to score. I've said very similar to us, at 35-27 to the Bucs. I had this deep moment of introspection. Like, are you just being a homer, Kieron? Do you really think the Bucs are going to win? What have you come on say that you think the Rams are going to win? Are you unnecessarily being contrary? I do think the Bucs are going to win. I think it's about bend but don't break. I think that 27 contains more field goals and the Bucs contain more touchdowns. So that to me, I think could be the difference. I think when we get down to the red zone or trying to snuff out the odd drive, and if the Rams get one-dimensional, if we can force them into the passing game, I know that's where they're most dangerous. But you saw against the Eagles, once the Eagles lost their running game, it was brutal because I think everyone was going on the blitz, and there was no. I think it was just like Mike Edwards sat that back there by himself, but it didn't matter because there's just a face full of Buccaneers defense leering down at you, and you can't do anything with it. So I think Bucs win. But that's the hardest pick I've had to make all year long. So I think this is primetime game. It's the classic, isn't it? It's the condiment bowl all over again. Mustard versus ketchup. This is the game that the whole of America is going to be watching. But do tell us what you think, because surprise, surprise, Bucs UK fan club. Four Bucs wins. So if we had a dime for every time, we would be very, very rich people. So tell us what you think. Gary, Alex, and David, thank you ever so much.
Thanks.
Pleasure. Thank you.
You guys watching, thank you ever so much. Don't forget the thumbs up. Don't forget the subscribe. Click that bell, not the Le'Veon bell, as it shall be known now. And we will see you next time. And we see you next time, hoping very much that we are previewing another game. So it's goodbye from us, and go Bucs.
Go back.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.